Hello, you have a prepaid call from
Keith Jesperson,
Bruce Davis,
Patton Clark, Robert Barno.
What's your friend?
Everybody, welcome to another edition of The Lighter Side of Serial Killers. I'm your host, Keith Rovere. Tonight, we're going to have back on the podcast Wild Bill Holbert. He's been on a few times on the audio podcast, and I've known him for many years now. He's in one of the worst, if not the worst, South American prison called La Jolla. It's Panamanian prison. It's known for just extreme violence. You have enough money, you can buy a gun, weapons of, any possible sort, every possible sort. And also, since we're going to be doing a video chat with Bill, also a cell phone and a Wi-Fi signal, which it's just amazing the corruption there, because outward appearances, you might not think it's that bad. I mean, they'll show they got these Wi-Fi blockers on, which are legit, signal blockers, but they tend to always find a way to get things working again. Bill was off the grid for a while. It's not always available to, like a modem, the Wi-Fi signals or a cell phone. But he's back, he's back online, and I'm going to have links at the bottom of this podcast in the description, how to follow him on social media. Yes, he has social media pages. We've been friends for a long time. I actually helped him publish his first book, Long Live the King, Wild Bill. And we'll talk about that book and some other projects that he's working on. But it's just wild, the fact that a Panamanian prison, one of the worst in the world, and we're doing a video chat. Most facilities here in America have tablets now, so they can do video visits, but that's put on by the facility. Like, you're allowed to have them and given to them by the facility. But in the Panamanian prison, they're not handing out tablets. They don't have that. They don't have a payphone and free phone calls or paid phone calls. It doesn't work like that there. And he's one of the few white people in a Panamanian prison. We're going to talk a little about that too, where they don't accept foreigners very well there. But yet he seems to always be smiling and in a good mood and positive, and we'll talk a little bit about that. As I said, we've been friends for a while. It's good to see him back online and doing good, and he's at a place called Sector C. He's talked about this, I think, on our last podcast, where he was like just in the quote-unquote best part of the prison, where they can have conjugal visits like multiple days a week. They can Kentucky Fried Chicken and Pepsi and barbecue. But he got in trouble. I believe it was a UK publication called The Mirror that did an interview with him, and he sent them some pictures that they weren't supposed to publish. Him holding wads of $100 bills, the barbecue, the Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think a few women were in the photos. Well, the facility found out about that, of course, because it was a published article, and got in trouble. And they threw him into what's called Sector C, one of the worst parts of the prison. Very little, even running water, which is a little tricky when you're trying to drink, bathe, and even go to the bathroom when you can't flush, sometimes for days, if not longer. We've talked a little bit about that in another podcast, and you can check out Spotify or anywhere podcasts are hosted and look up the few podcasts that we did with Wild Bill. But tonight, we're going to be seeing and hearing from Wild Bill. So without further ado, let's welcome Wild Bill. Hey, my friend. It's good to see you. We haven't seen each other for a long time. How are you? Staying safe and healthy?
Hey, Keith. Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, I'm healthy and strong, and it's really good to be back on your show. I haven't been on your show in many years. I haven't been able to be in contact like I'd like to be. And so I'm really excited to sit here with you guys today and talk to you guys. So yeah, everything's going really good. As good as it can go in a super maximum prison facility. So thanks, man.
Now, we've known each other for a long time, many years now. Oh, maybe getting close to, say, 10 years, or getting up there anyway. The social media following that you have now, it's growing and growing, which is great to see. You have access to some Wi-Fi. You can get some information out there of what you're up to and how you're doing, sometimes on a daily basis. And obviously all the links will be below in my description. People can follow you. But your following is growing, which is good. And it's funny because I've noticed a lot of females are following you. I mean, I think in my followers too, a little bit higher percentage of females, but the majority of people who follow you are females. What do you attribute that to?
That's very true. I'm really blessed to be followed and cared about by a lot of beautiful and wonderful women. I think that part of the reason why I have been so attractive to women is simplemente la masculinity, I don't repent of my masculinity. I'm a masculine man, and I like a feminine woman. And women today, I think, are very turned off by the pansy-ass pussy boys. That's the term that I use. The pansy-ass pussy boys of the new millennium is very clack, turns the girls off. And so the John Waynes, like Wild Bill, are still attractive. And so I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily because of like hybristophilia, which is like a personality trait that some women like violent offenders. I'm not really that violent of a guy anyway, you know. And so at all. I mean, anybody's more dangerous than me if you want the truth. And so, but I think that it's just the unrepentant masculinity of Wild Bill.
It's funny, we were talking about this before, but when people look up your name or Google your name and see a documentary about you, they always throw the word around serial killer. I mean, sometimes like hitman and an assassin. When you hear the term serial killer, what does that bring to your mind? I mean, do you label yourself obviously a multiple offender or a serial offender, but is a serial killer, an assassin, a hitman? I mean, before you killed or as you were killing, I mean, did you think of like a serial killer or a mobster or a gangster as you're killing, or is that just something you just kind of made up on the fly?
Well, I absolutely detest being called a serial killer, because that brings like ramifications thoughts of like people like Ted Bundy or Kemper or people who are sick, not well. I was an asshole certainly and did things for money. But I have a clean bill of psychological health. I've been in prison for 15 years, in the most violent prison in Central America, which is saying something. And I have never committed not one single violent act. I have no bloodlust, none of that sort of thing. And like to go back to the rest part of your question, I think my decline into organized crime was just like one step after another step after another step after another step, and then you get so so immersed in it that right or wrong, I mean, you can look back, there's just no way back. There's no way back. Or, I mean, maybe there is a way back. That's an excuse. But the way back is so difficult, you're not willing to accept it. And so you just continue to be more violent, make more money. I mean, everything I did for money. But I absolutely detest being called a serial killer, because I don't even feel like a killer. I mean, that's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. I haven't killed anybody in 16 or 17 years. It's not what I'm about, I'm about loving everybody anymore, and so.
Now, in my opening, I talked about how La Jolla is one of the most violent prisons in South America, if not the most violent, and just filled with corruption and just pure violence. But every time you post, every time I talk to you, you're always in a good mood, you're always smiling. Your social media posts are usually funny and you're upbeat and always seem in a good mood. What do you attribute that to? Is that something just a mindset? Is it something to do with your faith?
Absolutely. I think that my faith is really the thing that holds me up. But I have a faith that's a bit different. A lot of knee-jerk reactions may come to what I'm about to say, and I follow Jesus Christ, but I follow Jesus Christ as the Bible says, and as He taught, not as mainstream religion. I'm not a fundamentalist Christian. I'm not. I believe in the law of attraction, the same thing Jesus Christ taught. Jesus Christ said in the 11th chapter of the book of Mark, which I think verses 22 to 24, I'm paraphrasing as well, so I'm not quoting scripture, but you can check it yourself, that anything we ask believing we will receive. And the law of attraction says what you keep your mind on is what you receive. So like you see a lot of people who are sick today, a lot of people who are unhappy, and they keep their minds on being sick, they keep their minds on being unhappy. I'm not criticizing anyone, I want to be really straight about that. But what I am saying is there's a way to liberate yourself and to be happy, even in these shitty, terrible circumstances where I am. I'm happy, man. I'm fulfilled. Not only that, I had a British guy, a friend of mine named Leo Morgan, an old British gangster, told me one time, the cream always rises to the top of the milk. And man, wherever you're going to put me, I'm going to be the leader, and I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to be trying to make sure that everybody's okay. That's my thing. I have made my new life about helping other people. And so how the fuck am I not going to be a happy guy helping everybody all day, you know?
And like I said, it's one of the most violent prisons out there. And what are some of the like the most disturbing things and the most violent or disturbing things that you've firsthand witnessed at La Jolla?
Well, that list is really long. That's a really long list of disturbing things. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, you can read about it. You can check it out on my Facebook. Friends of Brother Bill is my Facebook group. You can check it out. You can read about how I wrote about it firsthand, why it happened. They killed a boy here the other day, gang-related stuff, right in front of my cell, like maybe 10 yards from the front door of my cell. One of them grabbed his head, and the other one cut his throat, and he into a pile of blood right there. And that's just normal shit here. That's just what you have to put up with. And I think that you can be safe anywhere. You just keep your nose out of everybody else's business. And the guy who got killed, I'm not going to say was a nice guy. He wasn't. He was a terrible bastard, if you want the truth. And a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't talk bad about the dead. And I'm not talking bad. I'm just telling the truth. It was a difficult. I feel sorry for his mother and his family. That's the people I feel sorry for. But disturbing, like for instance, in the worst thing I ever heard about or even seen, I was a witness to it in prison, was the Christmas massacre of 2019. At Christmas time in 2019, there was a slaughter of 15 inmates with gun battle. Inmates here have guns inside prison, so it's a really different situation. But there was a gun battle inside prison here between inmates, and 15 were killed. And that's the worst inmate-on-inmate violence I've ever even heard of in a prison anywhere.
Now, some people, usually two categories when there's murders involved. You have those like psychopathy. They don't have the ability to feel fear or empathy, or they don't have the ability to stop once they have the urge to do something violent. And that's why they can kill over and over again. Not counting like in self-defense, not counting those in the military. That's kind of a different conversation. And other people, the other group, so you have like psychopaths, so to speak, and then you have people who grew up in gangs since childhood, or even like the gangsters, where they started out by fighting a lot in street fights and worked their kind of way up level by level to more violent things and become desensitized to the murder and to the gruesomeness of it, from the killing, disposing of the bodies, and whatever it may be. What was it like for you? Is that something where it just never bothered you, or was it like a gradual process of, over many, many years of doing or fighting, or just life itself hardened you? What category do you put yourself into as far as, I want to say, learning to deal with the gruesomeness of it? Or how do you feel about that? Like, what kind of mindset did you have while doing it? And do you think you even fall into a category?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable assessment. I think in my personal case, it was like you said, you're over a long period of time. It's not like you just start out being a professional killer. You start out doing stupid, small things like white-collar crime, and you take another step, and you take another step, and then each time you take a step, you'll get a little bit less sensitized to the violence and stuff. And so then at the end of the day, like the first person I ever killed was in self-defense. I didn't actually. And then after that, it was like, well, now I know how to do it. So that seems callous, and it is callous. But that program of taking steps to become more and more violent also has the same reversal. You can stop being violent until you become a different person. They say no man is the same person he was 15 years ago, and that's certainly true about me. The idea of hurting someone for money, it makes me want to vomit. Literally makes me physically ill. I've spent so much time working on myself, trying to change myself, and successfully doing so that I would never go back to that lifestyle. But it's one step after another step deep and into hell. And then once you're in hell, well, now it's really hard to go back. Something has to happen for you to go back. So that's what happened to me.
Now, from when I read about, prisons overseas, especially in Latin America, they don't take too nicely to Americans. I think Gringos, might have been a name I think that you've used before. But pretty much since the beginning, it's almost like they received, and we talked about this, I think, one of the first podcasts we did together. They received you almost like a rock star. And even to today, I know you're in charge of a few things over there. But why do you think that is with you and not, many other, if maybe not many at all, American prisoners there, that they seem to receive you and you seem to be thriving there, not just staying alive by the skin of your teeth, but actually, doing pretty well for a gringo, so to speak?
One of the things, that's a difficult question to answer, really. I think it's just me, because here they hate gringos. They hate them, like Nazi Germany hated Jews. They hate them. And yet I'm in charge of everything and everybody. And it's just my personality, I think, maybe. I don't know. I really care about other people. That's one thing. And then I'm not in protective custody. I'm the boss here, I'm the boss. No, I don't mean it like that. But I mean like I am. I'm in charge. I'm the leader, the elected leader. They elected me as their voice. And so I think that part of it's personality. And another part is, what do you think? Do you think going to prison, everybody's going to hate you? You're going to find out that that's true. Or if you go into prison saying, hey, this is an adventure and fuck it, we're going to have a good time even though we're in prison, then that's also going to be true. It goes back to the law of attraction. I'm certainly a prophet of the law of attraction, so to speak, in the fact that I think that what you think about, if your expectation is that you're going to be in danger all the time, then you're fucked. But if your expectation is that you're going to have a big party, your life's going to be a big party, and everybody helps you everywhere you go, that's true. Look at you, man. I didn't know you from Adam, and now we're great friends. And I don't know how many times you've helped me. You helped me publish my book, Long Live the King Wild Bill. You're active on my social media. I'm active on your social media. All those links are also in the description box, boys and girls. So you can go down and check out Wild Bill. Pull the description box down. You'll see all my links there as well. I expect people to help me, and I expect to help other people, and I don't have them fucking problems, So, I think it's just the personality of the person.
A lot of the podcasts I do, I tend to talk a lot about prison recidivism rates, like overseas in Norway prison system or reward-based system, how the death penalty itself, and I can go both ways on the death penalty. Sometimes I'm for it, sometimes I'm against it, because I believe everybody can be rehabilitated. As far as life without parole, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on the death penalty, and what are your thoughts on life without parole?
Even being a person who probably would have gotten the death penalty, I'm in favor of it. I'm against cadena perpetua, like life in prison. I'm against that completely. That's insanity. If you can't be rehabilitated, why don't we just whack you and move forward, But if there's a chance to rehabilitate someone, I think that should happen. But like, the United States gives notoriously long sentences for everything, drug trafficking, murder, and these other countries give shorter sentences and have lower crime. Think about that. Punishment of criminals don't fucking work. You can't punish anybody into repentment. You can't punish your children. You can beat your children all day long, but it ain't gonna change their behavior. I got my share of spankings growing up, and look at how I turned out, So I'm saying what really works is one-on-one time with a psychologist, one-on-one time with people who love changes stuff. If you want to rehabilitate somebody, then you should, show them a way to live that's better. And say, but the victims, well, if you want to punish people, keep fucking punishing them and keep having murders, keep having more crime. But if you want to talk about something that works, go look at Norway and the Scandinavian countries. Their prisons are like hotels, and they have the lowest reoffend rate in the world. So punishing criminals don't fucking work. It don't work. It don't work this way either. It's expensive as hell, Stop that shit. So, rehabilitation works. If someone can't be rehabilitated, they should be executed. My opinion.
Now, if you get out one day, or maybe when you get out one day, most people's fear when they read about or hear about a multiple offender, a serial murderer, getting out of prison, they're like, oh, they're just going to kill again. If I just made up a scenario like where you were in the middle of the woods, you're camping with somebody, and as you're going through deep in the woods, no one's around, and you come across a tent, and the guy's like, listen, I got $2 million. That's my X rate in that tent right there. If you kill her, no one would ever know. What would go through your mind with that amount of money in that scenario, knowing the whole world would be against you, thinking, oh, he definitely will kill for the money, killed for the money before. If that was you today, or 10 years, 15 years from now, whenever you might get released, that's people's fear when you know you won't get caught. And for that amount of money, you might not have a penny in your pocket. Now you can have a couple $1 million. What would you think would go through your mind? I know you're not going to say here that you would do it, but what are some of the thoughts that would go through your mind if a situation was presented to you where you definitely would never get caught, no one ever know, and it could be upwards of like $1 million or $2 million? What do you think your thought process would be?
Well, honestly, your scenario, I'm in prison. I think that I am actually in prison for something very similar to that, actually. I killed a man's wife at his behest. And that was the case that exploded, that blew up in my face. That was the problem, that blew up in my face. So, but I'll tell you something, to be honest with you. Money means nothing to me anymore at all. I have as much money as I need always. I don't know. The law of attraction gives me exactly how much. I've never been hungry. I've never been, so like large sums of money no longer tempt me like they used to. I was never happy. I was really wealthy on the outside. When I was arrested, they found like $900,000 in cash in my home. But I was never happy that way. I'm not rich. Now, I'm very poor, actually, if you want the truth. Like, on the scale, I'm very poor. I live by the kindness of other people. But I'm happy. So, like, money doesn't tempt me anymore. I don't think that will be a temptation to kill. And certainly, I have no desire at all to ever participate in any kind of murder or anything like that ever again. Or any kind of crime at all. I'm living okay, like I am.
Listening to your talk, and obviously, they said we've talked together for a while. You have like the best radio voice, and obviously you're a good-looking guy, so you have like a podcast face and a radio voice. I think you would be great. Just your personality, sense of humor. Did you ever think of starting a podcast or something where people can see you and they can hear you, a YouTube channel, whatever it may be? Because you're very charismatic. You have a big following, and your following keeps growing, of course. Would you think about like what kind of topic you would do? Or would it be something in true crime or something else? Because not just me, but everybody who hears you says the same thing. Oh, this guy has a great voice for radio or for a podcast, and obviously, good-looking guy. Probably your following will probably grow, bigger and bigger. Have you thought about that? And what kind of a podcast would it be called, or what would you do?
Well, I have every intention of being a personality when I get out of prison. I think my life experience is so unique and so different than anybody else on the planet. I'm a redneck kid from Western North Carolina becomes a cartel hitman in the Republic of Panama. What? How did that happen? So but like you're talking about wanting to do a podcast or some kind of show or something, I'd rather do like a speaking tour. I write really well, have a book out, as you well know, because you helped me get it published, called Long Live the King While Built. I am the King of Hell. And so I'm writing another one right now. You ask, but anyway, the thing is, I'd like to write and give like live speeches about how anybody that really wants to, anybody who puts in the effort can change. If I can change, the asshole that I was could change to be a man who does nothing but 24 hours a day help other people. Do you know how many people I counsel on the outside? I counsel maybe 25 different people at a time, and that list changes all the time, because once they don't need my counseling anymore, I move on. For free. I don't charge any money for that at all, by the way. And God takes care of me, man. The universe takes care of me. So what do I want to do when I want to get out? In the short, I want to be an author, and I want to help people, and that's it. That's what I want to do.
And we mentioned the book, Long Live the King, Wild Bill. Are you working on any other projects, another book, or anything else out there?
Yeah, I've got a couple of projects right now. One project, I've got a book written, ready to go, called Concentration Camp 2000. Concentration Camp 2000 deals with the Christmas massacre that I talked about earlier, the Christmas massacre in 2019. That's never been, I mean, it was written about in the New York Times, but like a play-by-play of what actually happened and what Panamanian prisons are really like on the inside has never been told by anybody, at least in the English language, and that will be the first of that. I'm working on getting that published now, but I didn't want to do it through Amazon, really. I wanted to find a publisher to become a published author. That's a goal of mine. I'm not subject to Son of Sam laws. I'm not even in the United States, and I don't write about any crimes that I may have committed either. I don't write about that stuff. So any real literary agent that might be seeing this, man, reach out. Look in the links in the description box below. Anybody that wants to reach out for me, if you need counseling, if you want to talk about me being on your show or something, reach out. Right there they are. Just and pull them down and reach out to me. But I got one book ready to go right now. We're working also trying to get me the fuck out of Sector C, where I've been for 5 years in like punishments. I'm the leader here, but I don't want to be here, man. I want to be in general population in a normal prison. I'm not in solitary confinement. I'm out with the boys, every day, but it's a really difficult place to be, and so I'm trying to get back to like I was in minimum security. It's like better than being in the street. I got to see you got your conjugal visits, and you eat well, and there's a gym, and I want to get back to that, So those are the two projects I'm working on right now. My book, Concentration Camp 2000, and getting my sorry ass out of the Supermax facility here.
And we talked about, life on the outside. I mean, do you really seriously think there's a chance, and everything that you've been through there, that you actually will be released one day? I know over there in that part of the world, specifically where you're at, it's only like a certain amount of time you're allowed to serve. Like you can't serve longer than a certain period. So I think you almost have to get out by just the rules of their law over there. So if you were, I should say, when you get out, after coming and hanging out with me for a while, maybe spend a few months or a year with me hanging out, where do you think you would live? Now, have you thought about that in America, or I'm not sure if you can come to America or how that works, but what would be like your first things you would do, or where would you go? Where would you live?
Well, it's an absolute certainty that I'm going to get out of jail. As little as 8 years or as much as 15. I'm 45, I'll still be, even if it's 15 years, I'll still be 60. I'm in pretty good shape for 45, so I keep myself in pretty good shape, and so I feel like things are going to be okay. I'd love to hang out, brother. I don't know if I go back to the States or not, though, but definitely I'm a Caribbean pirate, man, and that's in my blood. I'm staying here. The first thing I'm going to do when I get out of prison is find me some little island paradise somewhere and some girl that can't get enough of my penis. And that's what I'm going to do. I haven't had a conjugal visit since like the 15th of February 2020, right before COVID. They've been hard to get. They were really easy to get before. I was getting like 3 conjugal visits a week from like different girls and everything, but now with the new rules from COVID, you have to be married to have a conjugal visit, so it's a lot more difficult. And as I am not a married gentleman, love to hang out, brother. Definitely gonna get out of prison. First thing I'm gonna do is find some girl to shack up with for a couple of weeks when I get out of here.
I know you were kind of limited on time and probably pushing it here, how much time you actually have. So just one final thing. Any final thoughts? I know there's a million questions. We can talk all day, but just to wrap things up, any final thoughts by you of what you want to get out there to everybody as we wrap it up?
Well, my final thoughts are, I just want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank you, as always, for having me on your show. You've always helped me from the very beginning, been the first person and help me and still help me. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for your help helping me publish my book. If you'll pull the description box down, if you're a viewer and you want to know more about me, want to interact with me, you can interact with me on Facebook, YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. There are links so you can talk directly to me through the application WhatsApp. I have a group, a support group that I run. It's there. All those links are there. So just pull it down. Any way you want to contact me, you should be able to do that through those links. Thanks for putting them up as well. Thanks for having me on the show. Inviting everybody to come and interact with Wild Bill. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Jesus Christ loves you, and I love you too. I'm out.
All right, well, there you have it. Wild Bill Holbert from a Panamanian prison, which still blows my mind. A smuggled phone with a Wi-Fi signal. You would think they would just shut Wi-Fi down. You know, if they're having that many problems with people, you know, getting Wi-Fi, but no, I think it's just corruption, just putting more money in their people's pockets. I know it's just a wild thing that we're video chatting from a Panamanian prison. It's still mind blowing to people that, serial killers at San Quentin's death row, like we had the Koreatown Slayer, Joseph Danks, on the podcast, video chatting live, playing. He has his guitar, I have my guitar. I'm jamming live with the serial killer live on death row in San Quentin. I mean, I wouldn't call it a bucket list thing, like for most normal people, but I'm not exactly normal, if you haven't figured that out yet. But come on, I mean, how many people in the world, one, can say they talk to serial killers on a daily basis? Two, you've jammed with a serial killer live on death row, or you've talked to, quote unquote, hitman or mercenary, whatever you want to label him as, in a Panamanian prison, Sector C, one of the worst in South America, and we're having a video chat live for a podcast. I mean, it's just mind blowing with what's out there, good or bad. It might scare the hell out of some people, and other people are like, that's tremendous. It's just a mixed bag. But it's just wild. But it's always great to talk to Wild Bill. He's always encouraging. I still get a little bit of hate. I'm sure he gets a little bit of hate for people don't want to see Bill and people who have committed violent crimes in succeeding in any way or feeling happy in any way. I was just talking to somebody else the other day about this, talking about how brain abnormalities really help form people. I don't say help in a positive way, but almost like make people turn in a dark direction, and maybe over and against their free will to a degree. And this person just didn't care. He's like, no, they killed multiple people. They should die themselves. They don't think there's any redeeming qualities about anybody. And I don't believe that. Now, there might be some forms of deep-rooted psychopathy that, you can't be let out of prison. That is the case in some, but maybe more towards a mental institution. Let's try to study their minds and figure out why they can't stop it. Are there breakthroughs in psychopathy? We notice the omega-3 in fish oil, does bring down the urges for violent offenses. And we know the countries that eat twice their body weight in fish every year have the lowest amount of violent crimes. And the countries and nations that have eat the least amount of fish have the highest amount of violent crime. So we're starting to see certain things play out as far as psychopathy and brain abnormalities. Because before this, we thought, there's no cure at all. And, while there's certainly not a cure, we are taking baby steps to try to trigger parts of the brain that aren't working, through electrodes and things like that, to stimulate it and to help them, lose those, horrible urges that they have. And it's just baby steps right now. But again, that's part of what I do is research about that and studying and talking about that and bringing it to people's awareness. But again, you got to feel encouraged, by Wild Bill. And hopefully he has truly changed his life around. Granted, it's in a prison. He talked tonight about, not being influenced by money. Don't think, but, we're also in prison. We're not out there in the real world where temptations are much more prevalent. We heard, serial killers haven't killed anybody in prison. Well, they don't really have the availability to do that. Back out in the real world's a whole different story. A lot of serial killers go after women. Well, there's all men in prisons, with the exception of a couple of guards that, not going to be able to get their hands on. But when they're back out in the real world, when there's no chains on them, when there's nobody watching them, and then they look at, maybe some prostitutes or some women as easy pickings in a dark alley somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Can they fight those urges off? We don't know. And some forms of psychopathy and brain abnormalities, the answer is always going to be no. If they don't have the ability to have impulse control, well, the answer is no. If they're not put in a position now in prison to give them that choice, they're not in a room getting a conjugal visit with a woman and no one's there to see them. We don't know what happened. Look at Ted Bundy. What did Ted Bundy do the first time he got out when he escaped prison? He went and killed a whole bunch of chicks. Went to a college campus and just started killing everybody. There was a tree branch. He just started whacking and killing. I'm sure the same. Richard Ramirez would be the same way. There's just some people who they don't feel anything inside. The only time they have any feeling at all is when they're killing and see the blood and the violence and those type of sadistic killers. Now, I'm not putting Wild Bill in that category, of course. But, it's easy to understand why people would think that somebody like Bill would get out, he would instantly kill again. Now, again, he wasn't a serial killer type. He wasn't driven by gore and violence and that kind of thing like a Richard Ramirez is. For him, it was more money, power, and control, that kind of thing. So comment below. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm still trying to build the YouTube channel. We're getting there. Got 1,000 or so followers. We're building stronger and stronger and stronger. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got a couple cool guests coming up soon. So until next time, see ya.